Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker by writer and director J.J. Abrams, Chris Terrio, and even creator George Lucas is all set and ready to deliver many different revelations that will lead to saga-wide implications of the entire Skywalker saga. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Episode 9 is that a lot of fans are very worried on exactly how J.J. Abrams is going to implement the entire story into the connections to the prequels and the originals and stuff around those lines. Now, we do know that this movie is being treated as the culmination of the Skywalker saga, and based on a lot of leaks and spoilers that we have been talking about, and that we have actually been talking about and going over, a lot of fans are expressing different, reactions and thoughts about this, and one thing has all to do with the character of Rey toward the very end of the movie within the third act, and this is the moment in which Rey is able to go up against Emperor Palpatine and even the Force ghosts of the past that are going to play a major role at the very end of Episode 9, so let's get right into it. Now, on top of all of this, shot descriptions consisting of a sequence where it's explained that Rey is said to be unconscious on the ground, where she is said to be hurt and seems lethargic. In this moment, it's said that Rey begins to hear the Force Ghost voices of the past, reaching out to her. It's said that the Force Ghost voices of Luke Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker, Yoda, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Leia, Ahsoka, and others begin to reach out to Rey and tell her to rise and that she has all the power of the Jedi, where Luke Skywalker's voice tunes in and says, "1,000 generations live in you now." This is said to give Rey godlike powers, and that the upcoming film's novelization, due for release in March of next year, will explain that each Force Ghost gives Rey a specific type of power and knowledge to face Palpatine and destroy the Sith once and for all. This is where Rey becomes the chosen one at the very end of the film, since she is the one to defeat Emperor Palpatine on Exegol by deflecting the lightning back at Palpatine and killing him, where he is said to blow up and disintegrate into nothing into thin air by using the power of the Force Ghosts and the Wills. Now, the film's novelization is said to explain that the Force Ghosts use a power from the Wills that actually allow them to use this power only one time when a mortal is in need, and that Rey was the one that they actually used it to chose for, to use it for, and to give her the power of 1,000 generations worth of Jedi to take on Darth Sidious to destroy him. Anakin Skywalker's voice is said to be heard in the sequence reaching out to Rey, as well as Ahsoka's, and that no Force Ghosts in the segment are actually seen. The film's novel is set to explain that Anakin gives Rey the knowledge of the Wills and the strength of a Jedi Master, whereas for Ahsoka it gives her the knowledge of the Ancient Jedi, where Luke and Leia are able to provide Rey other abilities in the film as well. Now, let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, the thing about Episode 9 here, in case you guys did not know, is that this movie is going to tap into Force lore. And this is a prime example of Force lore. Let me go over a couple of things that I disagree with this decision by Disney and Lucasfilm. Just me personally here. If you guys agree or disagree, let me know in the comments. I really do not like the idea that Rey is the one who destroys Emperor Palpatine, becomes the chosen one, and is the one to bring balance to the Force. I feel that that should have been done by a Skywalker at the end of the day, and should have really been Ben Solo / Kylo Ren. There's no doubt about it that I think a lot of fans are going to dislike the idea that Rey becomes the chosen one, that Rey actually takes the Skywalker name at the very end of the movie, and not just that, she is the one to destroy Palpatine. Now granted, of course Disney and Lucasfilm are using the power of the Force Ghost as a way to justify as to why Rey is able to do such a thing. Meanwhile, at the end of the day, they really could have done the same exact thing for Kylo Ren. There's no doubt about it. They could have done this for Ben Solo, where he eventually is able to take on the power of the Force Ghost and take on Darth Sidious. Think of it this way, right? The story is about redemption. I think that the best redemption story, at least for Kylo Ren / Ben Solo, would have been for him to destroy Darth Sidious. Now, do keep in mind here that there is going to be a moment in the film in which Ben Solo gives his life force to Rey, because after she defeats Darth Sidious, it actually kills her in the process. So Ben Solo climbs out of the pit and revives Rey and brings her back to life. They look at each other and smile, and they actually exchange a kiss. It's a 2-second kiss, and Ben Solo is said to vanish like Luke did at the very end of The Last Jedi. So that's the thing about this movie, is that there are elements of redemption, but it should have been done in a different way, I at least feel. I think that a lot of fans are going to like the idea of Ben Solo saving Rey and all, but I think it would have been interesting if it was in reverse, if at least the Skywalker was able to live, perhaps, and maybe they could have kept it just a little bit open-ended in order to explore future comics and stuff around those lines. Now, obviously, Disney and Lucasfilm, if they ever really wanted to, they can continue with Rey's story, you name it. Going back to the Force Ghosts, alright, each Force Ghost is said to give Rey a specific type of power. Now, this is all said to be rooted from the Wills. Now, this is going to be explained all in the film's novelization due for release in March of 2020, so do know that in March of 2020 is when the novelization is going to answer many different elements of The Rise of Skywalker that fans are going to be able to understand the film in a different way. So each and every Force Ghost allows Rey to gain a different ability or to gain a specific type of knowledge of the Jedi in order to take on Darth Sidious. Even one of the Force Ghosts tells Rey that she has all the power that she needs, and she has all the power of the Jedi. Hence, 1,000 generations live in you now. Now, on top of Anakin, Leia, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Ahsoka, there are, among other Force Ghosts that help Rey in the process, in the background, that actually aid her to stand up and rise. They tell her to rise and to take on Darth Sidious. Now, the fact that they tell her to rise, obviously this is, I believe, an indirect way of saying, yes, she is now a Skywalker, hence the rise of Skywalker, right? So, one would argue that, alright, she takes the name Skywalker at the very end of the movie, that's a given, that's a thing. One would argue that she is a literal Skywalker now because she becomes a part of the Force Ghosts, at least temporarily. I don't know about permanently, but at least temporarily they become a part of Rey. And that's said to happen in the movie. So, with that being said, I mean, this movie does have elements where it is borrowing ideas from other films out there. A lot of fans are expressing that this particular scene reminds them of other franchises out there, especially Palpatine's death. Let's talk about that quick. Palpatine's death is directly from Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, and we do know that J.J. Abrams is a big fan of Harry Potter, so it makes a lot of sense as to why he would use that as a form of inspiration. Palpatine's death is said to actually be where he explodes and disintegrates into thin air. So there's not a shred of Palpatine left by the hands of Rey. She is able to deflect the lightning right back at him and kill the Sith once and for all, and she becomes the Chosen One. She takes the Chosen One title away from Anakin Skywalker, which is another thing that I think a lot of fans are going to have an issue with. I think a lot of fans out there would like to see Anakin keep the Chosen One title forever, and that it deserves, to be only placed for Anakin. Even George Lucas said that, Anakin will always be the Chosen One, no ifs, ands, or buts. It is a little strange. I want to talk about this real quick. It is a little strange, though, that they chose to make Rey the Chosen One, where the Chosen One prophecy, was all about Anakin. Essentially, all 8 Star Wars movies that come before this one are really all about Rey when we're looking at the Chosen One prophecy. Anakin was a piece of the puzzle, Luke was the other piece, and now it's all about Rey. So you can see how Anakin led to Luke, and then Luke led to Rey. Essentially, right? Because Luke kind of told her the ways of the Jedi and gave her some training, I guess. In The Last Jedi, she didn't get all that much training, which I think is gonna, be another thing that J.J. Abrams had to fix in this movie, hence why you do see training in the very beginning of Episode 9, where Leia is training Rey. Leia is the new Jedi Master of Rey in this movie. There are moments in which Rey even calls her Master Leia. And so, when we look at it in that sense, that's obvious patchwork by JJ. There's no doubt about that, because Colin Trevorrow, the original director of Episode 9, originally wanted Luke to live. And I think that's one of the reasons as to why Disney and Lucasfilm, either didn't want him, corresponding with Rian Johnson or something around those lines. Rian Johnson made a big mess with The Last Jedi, and a lot of this movie seems like it's patchwork. So there's no doubt about it that, the Jedi training in the beginning of the movie is patchwork. But anyways, guys, let me know what you think about that big scene at the very end of Episode 9. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.